My God, that was fun. 224 is what India have managed after being put into bat by Owen Morgan. When they do decide to play the T20 game, it's hugely entertaining. Not if you're an English bowler, but you can certainly appreciate that if you're a fan of the T20 game or a neutral, or if you're just objective analysts like Ian Bell and Gautam Gambhir are. They're with me on ESPN Cricket for Matchday, powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G. We weren't sure what to expect from the Rohit Kohli combination at the top. How would India approach it? At the end of it, Gautam, what are your thoughts?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Can't just mention one player, to be honest. I think all the guys who batted, from Rohit Sharma to Virat Kohli to Surya to even Hardik Pandya. See, it's very difficult to actually mention one guy. Rohit Sharma started off, Virat Kohli anchored the batting the way he always does. Surya Kumar Yadav opened the game after the 6 overs. Hardik finished it off. What more can you expect from your top 4 batters? And when you can actually, you only 3 down and getting to 224? Yes, was it 224?
That's
224, right. Yes. 224 and with 3 down. So you can't just mention one.
Yeah, fair enough. This, in many ways, Ian, looked like the template for a T20 innings.
Literally about to say the same thing. I mean, not far off a perfect display, wasn't it? I think you had one guy bat through and then each player really playing a role. As Gautam just said there, you can't single out one player. I thought that was brilliant. And actually, sometimes, coming in that middle order, you want, to take the pressure off the in guy. And India did that so well. So every player that came in, got off to a fly, got an early boundary. Yadav again. The way he played Rashid as well, over the top, then over extra cover, the pressure that he was putting back on the England bowling attack was just incredible. And again, I think obviously England will look at that and where they could get better, but I think you have to give credit to the batting quality of India there. That was just absolutely amazing to watch.
Okay, let's break it down into periods and let's start with the power play. We were intrigued by how the combination of Rohit and Kohli would go. It looked like Rohit took the responsibility of going at the bowling hard, Gautam, and they finished with 60 in that power play. So this combination, if it is to be employed in the future, works with this sort of balance where Rohit Sharma goes hard and Kohli plays that sort of anchor role and bats through.
See, it's difficult. I think it really depends on that particular day as well, who's in that kind of a rhythm. Sometimes you will see if India has to go with this option of Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma opening the batting. So you never know. It could be Virat Kohli on one particular day. It's just about who gets in and who starts off really well. Even if you see today, after that 2 overs, India was 12 for no loss. And suddenly Rohit got those 2 boundaries of Mark Wood and suddenly he was off to a flyer and then he took it on from there and Virat just played that second fiddle. If India, it could happen the other way around as well. If Virat Kohli goes off to a flyer, he'll probably may continue, and then you've got Rohit Sharma who could anchor the innings, or even Surya Kumar Yadav anchor the innings. So you can't just say that Rohit Sharma will play this kind of a role every time he opens the batting with Virat Kohli, because Virat Kohli is so much of quality, he can actually play that aggressive role as well.
That's fair enough, fair point. And before I go to Ian, there were many things that we wanted to learn from India and off India as the T20 World Cup looms, Gautam. Is one of the things now that the Indian team also understands and gets what we say often in T20 cricket, that perhaps the role of the anchor has to be one which has to bat eventually at 145, 150, which Kohli's managed today. And you can't possibly do that at 120, 130. So whoever takes that role up, this is the way to play now?
See, again, I think I'm not going to take anything away from Virat Kohli, but then he had people like Surya Kumar Yadav, because there was not even a single phase in this 20 overs where actually England was in control. Mostly there has been times when a team gets off to a flyer with 6 overs 60, but there's a phase after that 6 overs where actually team tries to push it back, especially the bowling team. But if you see that Surya Kumar Yadav's inning, if you can get that 30 odd of 17 balls and he can actually continue that same momentum, it's always difficult, because it's easy for people like Virat Kohli, because he's been in and he's batted those 6 overs, suddenly coming after 6 overs and playing at that tempo, and then Hardik Pandya coming in and playing on that tempo. It's a completely different ball game. Yes, Virat Kohli batted throughout, and obviously you expect Virat to do that. Probably if he bats through, he will get at a strike rate of 140 every time he bats through. But then it's those difficult runs which I was mentioning about. Especially before the start of the show, that how important it is, especially after the 6 overs. So what Surya and Hardik did was commendable. Virat then eventually batted through and got 80 or 52 balls, which was very, very good. Can't be perfect in this, to be honest. I think from the start till the end, there was not a single phase where England could contain the Indian batting.
Yeah, it's a good point. And we thought after the power play, maybe one, if not both these guys would just perhaps change the pace of the game, Ian. But that didn't happen. India got 34 of the next 3 after the power play. then Rohit Sharma fell, Surya Kumar comes in, and they get 39 of the next 3. So, like Gautam says, this innings never really slowed down.
Oh, it was absolutely brilliant. As you said, a lot of the middle order in particular, a lot of selfless batting, putting the team first, taking boundary options on early and just putting so much pressure on England. And you can see that with Morgan as well. In that first 10 overs, he had to bowl majority of the overs of obviously Archer, Wood and Rashid as well. So he was using a lot of his best bowlers. Like a perfect batting display, full of a mixture really of aggression, smart play, great running between the wickets. It had absolutely everything. And I said England didn't have a lot of answers really. I mean, I think one thing it does look like probably the best surface of the 5 games. So again, we are halfway. England have got a powerful batting lineup to come, but at the moment, India have turned up in a final as we've sort of just a one-off game to win the series. India have turned up and they've put on a big show.
Now, yes, Gautam.
I reckon that England just probably were confused with the pace and bounce on this wicket. They kept bowling the same length what they did in the previous game. If you see Mark Wood, Jofra Archer, this wasn't the same wicket. So probably you had to mix it up more. You got to go fuller more. But with Mark Wood, his normal length, had he bowled that same length when he was bowling in the previous game, he was getting much more bounce and carry. On this wicket, it was coming on hip height, which was easy for the batters to take him on. So that probably is where England missed it.
Yeah, I think as well, to go on that, I think India have to take a lot of credit for. I think England have gone with a plan. They haven't adapted that plan in 5 games. They've still gone for that back of a length and short, and India have reacted very well. And as this series has gone on, they've just improved much more as it's gone on. Yes, the wicket might not be as bouncy as the first one, but I think England have been pretty predictable in what they're going to do. They haven't adapted too much, and India have adapted very quickly to those tactics and actually shown have got better and better as the series has gone on.
96 between those 8 overs of Wood and Archer, and we've been mentioning them again and again. I keep hearing this term of defensive bowling. Tom Moody mentions it many times when we did our IPL analysis, Gautam. And at times, perhaps as a bowling team, you need to start bowling differently. After India at the start they did, when Surya Kumar did what they do, could England have resorted to anything else, just to a plan B or a plan C to keep the boundaries down?
See, I don't like that defensive bowling too early in the innings, to be honest. I think the only way you got to restrict the opposition is probably to try and take wickets. The only thing which I thought of, that Morgan, probably when he was fielding at covers, he went right on the edge even after the 6 overs. Yes, I can understand you can do it in the 6 overs where there's no fielder in the deep, but after the 6 overs, you got to have at least Morgan trying to stay one and probably have a sweeper. Had Morgan been there could have been a possibility of a wicket there, because I remember one of Rohit and one of Surya just went in the air and Morgan was right at the edge. So probably he just went defensive in his mindset, but just telling bowlers to bowl Yorkers and those defensive lines and all that stuff just after 6 overs, it's always very difficult, because that's not the natural thing you do. You only do it probably in the last 3 or 4 overs. Suddenly you got to do it for 14 or 13 overs. It's easier said than done. So I would still like to be having probably bowl that length, not that back of length, just the normal length, and probably try and make the batter hit you over the fielder's head. And that is where England actually missed it. If you see a lot of those shots which were actually going in the gaps, those probably Indian batters were far more in control of the game. I've always believed after the 6 overs, if a batter can probably take a fielder on, you will always have an opportunity, because he literally has to time the ball really well to hit it right over the head of the fielder. And that is probably where England lagged from that planning point of view.
Okay, what about if a little more variety, perhaps? I know it's hindsight now, Belly, but a lot of seam bowling in that England lineup on a day where the batsmen do tee off, like India have done today. It's again perhaps provokes that conversation where they could do with another spin bowling option. They didn't seem to find need for Moeen Ali in this 11, but something for them to take forward if this game doesn't go their way.
100%. I think there's no doubt that conversation will certainly start place now. I think it is quite one-dimensional, isn't there? There's a lot of seam going on. I think also with the fact that also Joe Root or someone like that, if you have a batsman in that top order that can just bowl a couple of certainly pace-off deliveries with spin, it would help. And obviously without him in the team and Moeen Ali, you very much are stuck, aren't you, with seam. So I think there will be conversations. And a lot of this series really is about that fact-finding, is it? Understanding what is the right balance. There's a lot to like about what England have done, and they're a fantastic white ball side. But in these conditions, they maybe have to just readjust, maybe think, okay, is it Moeen Ali instead of Sam Curran? Or is it we find a spot for Joe Root to give us another option with some pace off, rather than just, again, constantly, bashing back of a length?
Okay.
Can I just add? Probably Morgan could have used Sam Curran a bit more. especially against the right-handers. He could have actually bowled those cutters, taking the ball away. Because if you see most of the slower ones, apart from Jofra Archer, even if you see Chris Jordan, he would actually bowl those offies to a right-hander. It's always easier for a right-hander to take that off-spin on. But when you've got someone like a Sam Curran who plays a lot of T20 cricket, if you could have used him against two right-handers, would have been very difficult, because he bowled that one good over. Apart from that last delivery, he was pretty economical after the 6 over.
Absolutely.
So
He went for 5. Yeah.
I think that's a great point as well about the slow ball going away from the hitting zone, because when you watch India, especially with England's left-handers coming in, that's where England have struggled, was all those slow balls going away from that big hitting zone. So I agree with that. I think that could have been used more. And also England just going to have to look at their options, aren't they, with their slow balls? Can they go the opposite way than just bowling the off-cutter into the hitting zone and getting whacked over mid-on and deep mid-wicket?
Yeah, he went for just 5, Sam Curran, before that 6, and that included a tough chance of Rohit Sharma. So maybe Sam Curran could have been used a bit more. Maybe he'll be called upon to bat today. Before we just wrap up, there's still quite a bit I want to discuss, but the second innings already underway. Quick thought on that Surya Kumar Yadav catch and wicket. I can see it's triggered a nice social media debate on whether relayed catches should reflect in the scorecard with the guy who's actually done a lot of the effort or the hard work of the boundary. It's going to say caught Roy bowled. At the end of it's going to say caught Jason Roy bowled Adil Rashid. But thoughts on that, Gautam? We see it so often now, the relayed catch. But Chris Jordan...
I would give it to Chris Jordan.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think that's unfair on Chris Jordan. Or probably you should have both the names on the score sheet, not just one.
Ian?
Again, like a bit like a run out. So you literally, I think both of them should be involved. I mean, Chris Jordan now, it's not a fluke. He does it so often, especially on the boundary. Actually, at slip as well. He's an outstanding catcher, especially one-handed catches. Great athlete. It was a tough night for him with the ball, but wow, what he does in the field is special.
Okay, Bhuvneshwar Kumar has already struck early in England's chase now, so he's got Jason Roy. Let's see how this chase goes. Big game, you think, for David Malan, and we'll see if England can seal this T20 series. They certainly have the runs. Gautam Gambhir and Ben will pick up the chat at the end of the game on ESPN Cricket for Matchday, powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G.